Hello everyone, it's averydawnside and welcome back to another video. So today I'm very excited because as you guys know, I did the star coin shopping spree and I bought, I can't even remember, I think it was 6 horses. Yeah, it was 3 horses and 3 ponies. So you know I have a lot of training coming up. So I figured this would be the perfect time to really grow my training time series, and so that is what I'm going to be doing. So let's just go ahead and get into it. I am really excited for this topic because I feel like it's unique and I've been thinking about doing it for a while. I just haven't. But the topic for today's training time is my crazy star stable thoughts. So I am definitely a dreamer thinker. Like, I have a very imaginative brain, which is how I come up with my role plays and stuff, and I'm pretty sure I've told you guys multiple times, I sit in my shower and I think a lot. And yes, I do sit in my shower. I just get tired because I take really hot showers, and you know, like, hot water makes you really tired. Okay, anyways, getting into the training time, I've been thinking about these thoughts and I was like, you know what, there has to be other people out there who has these same crazy thoughts about star stable that I do and like wonder the same things. So I'm here to share them today. And I know I already started training and this is technically still the intro, but I just wanted to give that explanation and I want you all to know that I'm not crazy, okay? I promise. I know these might be a little out there, but I have to know if anyone else wonders these things, and if you don't, then you're going to start wondering them because I'm about to share them with you. Okay, so anyways, let's get into the first crazy thought that I think about star stable. So the first thought is, what really happens when you log off of the game? How do you, like, for example, you, like, obviously you log off and you have your, like, ending screen and all of that, but how do you know your character just disappears out of Jorvik when you log off? For example, like, oh my goodness, hi Ava. Heart. No, but like, for example, if I didn't know Ava was actually like online because I was just talking to her, how do I know that that's actually Ava? Like, for example, like, what if Ava's character was actually just online and like living her own life and living her own dream? Like, how do you know that there's actually someone behind the character playing, or if that character is just playing on its own? Does that make sense? I feel like that makes me sound kind of like a crazy person, but like, I don't know a better way to explain it. I feel like that makes sense. But basically, I'm just saying, how do you really know that, like, a player or a character that you see in game is being controlled by someone else on the other side of a screen? Like, what if it's just the character, like, living their actual life? Like, what if when we log off, our star stable characters have their own lives and they just, like, do their own thing, and you'd never be able to tell because you just think, like, oh, it's just probably someone else, like, playing. You never really know. Like, obviously you know for your friends and stuff, like if you're on call or like training with someone, you know, like, that someone else is actually online, but for like random people that you have no idea who they are, like, how do you really know? And like, that really goes into kind of the next one, which is, how do you know if clubs are actually made by like people? Like, there could be clubs, like small clubs, that you're like, like, I wonder who owns that, and no one really knows who owns it. So you're like, does someone really own it? Or maybe that's just like a cluster of like actual characters living in game. Does that make sense? I hope so. Like I said, a lot of these are very crazy thoughts that I was just like babbling to myself about in my shower, and I want to share them because someone else out there has to wonder these things. So those are the first 2 that I'm like, I really do wonder, and I don't think any of you will ever be able to play the game the same again because you'll probably wonder those things too. But kind of the same thing, like, how do you really know if someone's playing? Like, if someone's like, oh, I'm logging off for the night, and then you see them online, you're like, did you ditch me? Or like, are you really not on and your character is just on? Like, what if there was a glitch? Oh goodness. What if there was a glitch where like your character was just there? Why is it? Speaking of glitches, I'm pretty sure this is glitching. We love that. Okay, we'll start over. But yeah, I'm like, what if there was a glitch and like people's characters just started showing up one day and you knew they weren't online? That would just be very crazy. Okay. Another thought that I have is like, what is Jorvik really based on? I'm like a firm believer that everything has to be based on something. For example, mermaids. Mermaids are based on people combined with fish. So what is Jorvik based on? Like, did they pick like maybe a continent? Like, are they basing it off of like Africa or Europe or like that stuff, or like America, anything like that? But I'm like, how do you really know, you know? Like, what is Jorvik? Obviously there's the background of how Jorvik was created and all of that stuff, but there's not really like, well, there might be. If anyone knows like what Jorvik is actually based off, like, please let me know, because I'm very curious. I've done some Googling, but Google hasn't sufficed the answer, and I cannot find an answer on what Jorvik is truly based on. And maybe I'm just looking in the wrong places, but like, do you ever wonder that? Like, who just sat there and like, who, like the creator of Star Stable, how did they just sit there? Like, I mean, not even just this version of Star Stable Online, but like Star Stable in itself. Like, who sat there and like thought of the elaborate storyline and like creating characters and like all of that? How did they just come up with that? Like, I mean, I know you can just come up with storylines, but it's just crazy to me. That seriously blows my mind that like someone's thought turned into an entire world, which like led me to all of you and led all of you to me and my channel and like your friends and my friends. Like, if someone didn't have that thought, like none of us would be here doing this right now. You wouldn't be listening to this video. I don't know. That really blows my mind. And that kind of goes into the thing where it's like everything happens for a reason, because like the reason that person had that thought created a world for so many people to play in. And like, that's just a wild thing that I think about, because if that thought had never occurred, none of this would be happening, which is absolutely insane because it changed my life. But you guys know I talk about that all the time. Okay, the next one is kind of like, I'm sure someone could figure this out. Like, I'm sure Star Stable has like the data, I don't know how, depends on how you say it. But I'm sure Star Stable has the statistics of this somewhere. But how many people actually play Star Stable? Like, realistically, I would love to see how many accounts have been created. Like, is it in the millions, like the billions? Because like, obviously people create alt accounts and all that, but how many like exact accounts like are on each server? Oh, that's another thing I wonder, is how many people can be on a server before the server closes. And like, I would just love to see how many people are on a server, to know. Like, for example, when I'm on Poppy Moon and I'm like, oh, this is a quiet server, like, does quiet mean that 3 people exist on that server at a time? Or does quiet mean like only 300 exist? And on Nightstar there's like 10,000 people, or is there more than that? Like, how many people can be on a server before there's too many, you know? Okay, the next one is these are very interesting. How many people have you seen in game that you've seen in real life but you never knew? So like, for example, if I run up to this girl, Anna Snowhearth, like, there are chances that I've walked by her in real life, but I would never know. Like, Ava, my good friend Ava, obviously you all know, Ava Clearwood. But Ava and I, like, we don't have a very far distance between us, and like, we would have never known. And like, Ava's visited my state before, and like, I've never been to Ava's state before, and I'm not going to reveal it because obviously that's private information. But like, Ava literally could have been in the same city that I was at the same time, and we had no idea. Like, that just blows my mind, because you could walk past people on the street, and honestly, I think like, if people walked past me on the street, they would have no idea that like I play this, or that I have like a YouTube channel, or like anything. The only like telltale sign would be like my voice, and like, you have to really like know someone's voice to be able to pick it out of a crowd, I think. But like, that's just wild to me. Like, you could be walking past people, you could be working with people, you could have people in your family, maybe your extended family, that play Star Stable, but you never even know. Like, that is absolutely nuts to me, and I think about that so often, because I walk past people and I'm like, oh, they probably don't play Star Stable, but then I look at myself and I'm like, I bet if people saw me on the street, they'd be like, she doesn't play a horse game for kids. Like, I don't know. These are the wild thoughts that averydawnside has. Please let me know if I'm not alone in this, because it's a real thing. Okay. I am so bad at completing this race on the first try. Like, I usually get stuck, like, here. Oh, I didn't. That's actually really impressive. I usually get stuck either there or, like, on the higher, like, log jumps, the hay bales ones, or sometimes I fall off this. But that has nothing to do with this video, so let's just keep going. Who was the first person to ever play Star Stable? Like, who was the first character ever created in game, and like what were their first thoughts? Like, obviously Star Stable had like data testers and stuff. Ooh, oh goodness. But obviously Star Stable had to have like data testers and everything, because like they have to do that for mobile, and like we get to see that process, which is so cool. But like before they released SSO like to the internet, who was the first person to play it, and like what were their first initial thoughts? And I don't mean like one of the workers, because obviously one of the workers was probably like obviously they would make their employees test it out before they would have anyone else test it out. But who was like the first ever like non-employee to play the game, and like do they still play? What day was their account created on? How did they find it? Like, and like if you think about it, that's like a history artifact of Star Stable. Does anyone else think of these things? Like, that's literally like that. If Star Stable had a museum, that would be one of the artifacts in the museum, is that account, like that account name. Like, what is the name of the person's account? Okay. That one went on for a while. Another thing I think of is like, what if there's an alternate like side of Star Stable? Like, what if, because obviously for games and everything there's like coding, and you like encode and create the game through coding and like pixelation and stuff like that. But what if there's basically the same code out there but a little bit different, and it's just an alternate universe or reality of the actual Star Stable game, and it's called like, I don't know, something like Star Stable not online, if that makes sense. I don't know if that does make sense. But what if there's like copies of all of our characters somewhere out there in the universe and we have no idea? And like duplicates. That's another thing that kind of goes into like duplicates. But like, does Star Stable actually like manage whether people have the same name or not? Or like, for example, can you not have this? Like, could someone go in and put averydawnside? I know you can do like different last names, because when I made my alt account, I wanted her to have the same last name, but when I did like the last name, I couldn't pick the first name to be Avery. So like my alt account's name, one of my alt account's names is @𝙁𝙠nside, but like, could it be possible for someone to copy averydawnside on the same like NA, like North American accounts? Like, I know I'm pretty sure in other regions you can create the same name, because I've heard some like bigger YouTubers have had problems with that, with people pretending to be them. But I'm just like, on like the same region server, like, is that controlled? How is that controlled? Like, how did they come up with so many name variations? And like, oh my goodness, okay. And all that, and like, how, like, where do they get their names from? Because Star Stable has a lot of unique names, but they still don't have my IRL name, and I'm kind of surprised at this point, because they have stuff similar to it, but they still don't have my IRL name, and it is a unique name, but I figured it would be something that they'd put in there already. So I don't really know. Maybe that's just like, maybe they know that's secretly my name. I don't know. Moving on to the last race, and my last crazy thought, so that I don't like overboard you guys on crazy thoughts and you're like, this girl's crazy, is if Star Stable got shut down, how would they compensate the players? Like, so imagine, like, because usually like everything sadly eventually does come into an end, whether we like it or not. But like, let's say one day like Star Stable, I don't know what, for what reason, why, but let's say Star Stable shut down okay, so for example, I used to play, I don't know if anyone else played this, but when I was younger, I played the game called Pixie Hollow with like the fairies, and I played it all the time, and I loved it so much. And like, that was a game you could play and like pay for stuff with and everything. And one day Pixie Hollow got shut down, and obviously I didn't know about it because I was older, but one time I went back to go and try and log into my account and it was like, I'm sorry, but Pixie Hollow doesn't exist. And I was like, what? I was so sad because I loved that game and I played it so much. But oh yay. Yeah, so I'm like, what would happen if Star Stable just disappeared? And like, what if they were like, okay, yeah, the game is ending, like, would they keep the game up and you just wouldn't be able to like buy star coins or anything, and like you would never get updates anymore? Or would they completely take it down? And like, if they did take it down, like, what would they do for the people who paid for Star Rider and like lifetime Star Rider and star coins? And like, I just have all of those questions. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and end the video here because I feel like now you guys are probably just sitting there like shook, because when I thought of this stuff I was like, what? And I just wondered if anyone else would. So if any of these thoughts are ones that you've had before, or just like comment and let me know what you think on them, because I'm really curious. If you made it to the end of the video, comment an orange heart. There we go. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope I blew your mind a little bit, and I hope these thoughts blew your mind as much as they blew mine when I thought of them. But anyways, I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe as always. And I'll see you in the future. Bye!